Hey, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Eating at a Meeting. We were just laughing our butts off before we got on air here, so I'm very, very excited to introduce you to. Well, you've met Zoe on the show a couple of times back. I think you've been on 3 times now. So this
Wow.
makes number 4. So I'm so excited to have you back. She is an
Oh,
Army vet. She's a certified diversity practitioner, and she's the founder of Grow with Zomo. And she helps meetings and hospitality and tourism organizations move from DEI statements to real measurable action. She's been a leading voice in the meetings industry in supplier diversity, social sustainability. And I am so grateful to call her a colleague and a friend. So
yeah.
thank you, my friend, for being here.
Yes. Always a pleasure.
Thank you. And Diane Brown, I met in Atlantic City.
Oh,
I
yeah, we did,
Yeah.
yes.
Was that 2 years ago or a year ago?
It was just last
Holy
year.
moly, time flies. She is the founder and principal of Derby Brown Productions, which is a strategy-led event firm known for creating high-touch experience-driven events for global brands and mission-driven clients. So I am so excited to have you both here, my Atlanta girls, along with Tess is not here with us and Qualina's not here with us, but I'm so excited to talk to you both about Black History Month in 2026 and how do we design events that honor culture and community. So I want to kick it off with the first question is Black History Month is often framed as a celebration, but we're in a charged political and social climate in 2026. So what does this month mean to you personally right now, and how does that meaning shifted over time? Who wants to jump in?
Ooh. It for me, the first thing that comes to mind,
Mhm.
one, this is the centennial celebration of Black History Month. So
Okay.
having people understand where Black History Month evolved from, it evolved from Negro History Week. And in this year, what's really important about the centennial celebration is to combat miseducation. That was the reason why it started in the first place. And we see a need to continue doing that very intentionally,
Mhm.
is that people will try to tell you that Black people have no history or no contributions, or it's not that important, or we don't need to
Right.
talk about. Well, I say the opposite. We need to combat it with intention and speak about it proudly, and play some James Brown in the background.
Heck
I'm
yeah.
Black and I'm proud. So, yes,
Yeah.
speak about it, learn
L
about it.
Yeah,
I
no,
think for
the
me
fact that you
oh, go
just told
ahead.
me the centennial, I had no idea about that, so
Mhm.
thank you. Diane,
Yeah.
what about you?
I was gonna say to be very intentional about every single space that I show up, where I show up, and also to have greater compassion. I think that, with it being the centennial, there's a lot of, things where a lot of Black women have been severely impacted. And it's like trying to truly have compassion for those who are impacted and understanding that we need to talk to ourselves kinder because we don't understand what everyone's going through during this time. Yes, we've made a lot of strides, but people are trying to erase that. And so, how do you move through? Not everybody is dealing with it in the same way. And so, you have to show up with compassion first, education next, and then love all the way through.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. There's a
Yeah,
lot
when you're
going.
thinking that the Coco Jones just sang the
Mhm.
Black national anthem, which is really the everybody's national anthem, but lift every voice and sing. And just hearing people not know that history, and really wanting people to listen to the words. It echoes what Diane's saying. Like, it's about empowerment to lift each other up, to realize that, people are digesting or dealing with everything that's going on differently, and we need to give each other grace. And that song really is one that just encourages us to keep on keeping on, as we always say within our community.
That's
All
awesome.
right, Gladys Knight.
And
See?
yeah. Well, I was gonna say Snoop Dogg, but we're not gonna get into that conversation again.
No,
Before the show. Sorry.
He does have an affirmation album, though. Did you
He
know that,
does?
Diane? He sings
I did
affirmation
not
songs.
know. I did not
Yes,
know. We'll have
yes,
to talk about that one later.
Yeah.
absolutely. I'm all about that.
Okay, so in something that I read recently that you posted, you describe the current state of equity and belonging in events as a tightrope of concern. What does
Mhm.
that tightrope look like day to day for you and the organizations that you're working with?
Yeah, I mean, evidence of that is in my own business, starting in 2025 when there was so much pushback, rollback, and, fear about how to engage with diversity, equity, and inclusion. I lost 3 contracts within 3 months,
Wow.
and that was a huge part of, my financial stability. And I had to pivot again. I felt like we were back in 2020. And I was just, sitting back and observing, listening how people were responding online. And the tightrope is all this confusion. Like, is it legal? Is it illegal?
Mhm.
What do these executive orders mean? And then all these letters that different companies were getting. There were so many threats, coming from the administration about what they can do and can't do. And now you're hearing a lot about reverse racism and reverse discrimination, which aren't a thing, but that's a whole nother subject. And so the tightrope is just there are people who didn't believe in DEI, whatever, like you don't believe in diversity, equity, and inclusion. That's one thing. But there are also people who just didn't know how to move. And
Mhm.
so that just feels like you're in this between a rock and a hard place, or you're walking that tightrope with no net because you're like, okay, if I continue implementing DI policies and strategies, will I get sued? And most companies, whether small businesses or large businesses, don't have the resources to, navigate different lawsuits or
Mhm.
even the game of entering into some legal battle. And so people rolled back trying to figure out what can we do, and do
Mhm.
we need to change a name? Do we need to change the way
Mhm.
that this particular ERG group operates, or this particular program that we do? And so all the concerns are, can we really do this well and not performative without getting in trouble? And
Yeah.
so I see a lot of fear,
Mhm.
people knowing it's the right thing to do. And it's also an opportunity of growth where, as a practitioner, we can say, whether it's called DEI or EDI or, any other idea, that we can roll it out even better.
Mhm.
It's a new
Yeah.
iteration of what do next. So yeah, a lot of concerns on how to move,
Yeah.
because there's a lot of fear mongering,
Yep.
of what
Absolutely.
will
Yeah.
happen if you roll out a program.
Well, and
Yeah.
Diane and I were working on an event last year together, and it had to change its name because
Hmm.
diversity was in the name of the conference, and so, they had to change the name of it. They just
Yeah.
removed it and made it a business conference, but,
Yep.
that was a big
Yeah.
concern from the beginning.
I
What do they
think
say
there's the
when the word diversity becomes a dirty word? That
right.
Right.
that's what happened.
Right.
I think we're so focused on the name as opposed to a person. It is
Mhm.
just like we've given an adjective more weight than a person. We always talk about somebody who's black. They're a person. It's
Mhm.
not that they're a color, they are a person. They have feelings, they have thoughts, they have ideas, they have families. And I think with this whole shift, we focus so on that adjective that we're missing what the impact is later on. We're
Mhm.
trying to eliminate that because it makes us more comfortable. But what about that person who is being marginalized? What do they think about? And we have to really start shifting our language to understand it's about making sure that everybody feels comfortable in a room when they show up.
Mhm.
That's what it's about. It's about the person. So, as it relates to events, I think, as Zoe was saying, that it's made it harder to have free flowing conversations because nobody wants to offend. But what is offensive now?
Right.
The bar has moved so far. It's just like you have so many stilted conversations. So you sit there, it's just like, okay, what do you say? And then you're kind of looking to say who's going to say something first.
Right.
It's like and I think that's the one thing that is very surprising to me when you have to talk about the elephant, but the elephant is so large you can't even see around it.
Yeah.
And I think this is where we are. We have to be able to eat the elephant, but who's willing to take the first bite?
That's a really good
Sign
point.
me up.
Yeah.
Sign me up.
Yeah.
But like you, that's a good point because again, it goes back to that tightrope. When you're in these public spaces at these industry events, if I'm being frank with you, I haven't wanted to go to a lot of industry events because of that reason. I don't know what people are comfortable talking with, and I'm very comfortable with having these discussions, but I know they're taboo in a lot of these spaces. So
Hmm.
people instead, and nothing's wrong talking about your cats and your dogs, but how long can you carry on? The very surface level conversation when literally our democracy is being threatened. And so people want to have fun, they want to drink, they want to catch up with each other, but these conversations are unavoidable. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, we need to talk about Black history, we need to talk about the future, and even in subjects, that you mentioned, back to Diane's point about, we are people when we talk about Black history. When we say phrases and statements like Black Lives Matter, in the beginning of that statement or as it originated, it's that you understand we're saying too, Black Lives Matter too, and all the lives that we're talking about, don't forget about we are a people as well. We are
Right.
humans as well. Let's talk about all of our needs and
Mhm. Mhm.
let's focus on that community who is disproportionately impacted. Not
Right.
not just us, but make sure that you include those who are marginalized.
Mhm. Absolutely.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Now, Diane, kind of tying this into that conversation, but are you seeing a lot of clients lean into equity and inclusion pull back because of the political pressure? I mean, and Joe, you just said you lost 3 clients because of it. And what does that mean for event design when we're thinking through all of these events? And so going back to your association things and not wanting to go to that, there's a lot of issues that have been on the table for the last year and a half that our associations are not addressing at all. Right. And
Mm.
even a Skift article came out the other day talking about, ICE and what associations only 4 piped up and said anything about this to address it, and how are their members, because their members are having to deal with this on a daily basis. And actually I was talking to Josh Grimes the other day about a client that he has who's worried about doing an incentive trip in a country if whether the tariffs go up or down, and how is that going to impact the cost of their event. So I mean, I know I addressed it to Diane first, but to both of you, how do we design events around all of this?
So I think the to answer the first part of the questions, what are clients saying? I think they're being very intentional and very guarded. And so it's like they know that if it said black before minority, it's like, okay, we have to shift the language. All right. From there, it's what's the strategy going forward? We still want to target these people, but how do we shape the language? And there's
Mhm.
a lot of intention on shaping the language to make sure you still haven't veered off of your actual goal, but you're changing the language and sometimes even the narrative to make sure that you are going forward. And as it relates to event design, you're right. There are a lot. There are more factors that we have to kind of take into consideration when we're executing. So tariffs, what type of food are you going to have,
Mhm.
eating at the meeting?
Right.
What type of food, can you get what you truly desire? If you're talking about equipment, what does it cost to bring it there? Because gas prices, depending on where you are impacted. Hey, can you trust that when you're shipping items, there aren't any airline issues because of government regulations? So there is a lot of um, hesitation. I don't want to say fear, but there's a lot of hesitation on how you do it. You have to be intentional and really think of more. You have a plan A, a plan B, a plan C, and plan D more so than we've had before.
Mhm.
There's so much intention that we've had to put into planning to truly execute at the highest level and still make sure that people have fun because, yes, there's friction, but again, people want to be together to enjoy themselves.
Mhm.
And so you want to make sure that it is seamless on the planning side so people can truly tap into that joy because after this is all said and done, that's what truly resonates. You want to make sure that people embody their joy.
And into that, I add always education. So as everything is going on through the process, educate your team, educate yourself. That's how you design. And I think as certain, terms or labels have to be stripped, understand why. I'm in an active debate on LinkedIn as usual. And I don't know if it's a debate, it's just a discussion about whether or not DEI is illegal, because that's the feeling, that's that
Mhm.
tightrope again. But it's not illegal, but still, because it's so tense of a discussion, and how to, integrate it into your design, is educate yourself on what is legal, educate yourself on what you can do.
Mhm.
And, Tracy, you mentioned Joshua Grimes. Him and I have done sessions together, and I think it's important to bring in your legal counsel as you make decisions, so that you're having those conversations proactively as you design, so that they're aware that if someone wants to speak out against what you're doing or push back against what you're doing, it is legally sound because you've educated yourself. So I'm always going to lean into education and being knowledgeable
No, I love that.
about, what you're doing.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about Black History Month and food as culture. Bringing it because, as Diane said, this is eating at a meeting. For planners who want to honor Black history through food but don't know where to start, what's the most practical first step that they can take? And Zoe, you've told me this before, but I want you to reiterate it again.
Ooh, what did I say?
Well, it
Rewind the
was like
clip.
in a couple of other things. You know what?
I mean, like, I can't reiterate it enough. It's always education, but it's talking to your guest.
Mhm.
One of the things I like to do across different cultures is you understand that, like, what, like, different communities are eating. Like, you have Afro Latina, you have Afro Caribbean, you have, African foods, you have the Deep South, you have what is eaten in Chicago, you have what is eaten in New York. And so don't assume uh, by stereotypes that it's one broad stroke, right? Learn different ways that food can be presented, and learn that, why certain foods are integrated into our dietary, like, focus, like why we eat those foods. And then also learn that, there are opportunities now to become more healthy as people learn their bodies, and integrate that into your menu selections as well. I think our food and contribution, like our culinary contributions to this country, are so deep, and
Mhm.
there's so many good documentaries on that. Again, educating yourself on that, but then being creative with those foods. So if you are in the South, of course, people think of the traditional, collard greens and fried chicken and things, but there's so many more options beyond that. And there's a history tied to that, which can connect you to our history in different regions of the world. And so you can tell a story through your food. And so, both through food and through beverages like the hibiscus, or, hibiscus beverages and teas and things like that are
Mhm.
tied to Juneteenth, and back to where, hibiscus comes from. Even chocolate has roots in Africa that brings over into the US. So use food to tell stories, use food to be innovative and creative, and to, bring people together to have conversations so that they can learn, and like Diane's point, celebrate and be
Mhm.
joyful around what they're eating, and hopefully go home and be inspired to, recreate those meals.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would say give us more time to eat because eating is so communal
Mhm.
and people feel less threatened when they're eating. You can find out more about the person, where they're going, their aspirations, because they're putting something inside their body and it is a very spiritual experience. So give us more time to enjoy that whole experience of tasting, enjoying it, understanding where it comes from. The other thing I definitely want to say is like some people do the things like, oh, it's a Black event, so you want to have soul food. I can guarantee you, if you put macaroni and cheese on the menu and you are not careful about that mac and cheese, you will have pans and pans of it because it's a staple in the Black, like, who made it? Like, and there's a thing. man. Thanksgiving, like who makes the macaroni and cheese? You know, if this is not your first time, don't put it on the table
You mean Kraft
because
doesn't count?
did you what? Girl,
Wi
bye. We not
Hold
doing
on.
that.
Ho ho
We no,
Turn off my
mm-mm.
camera.
No, we are not even going to entertain that. We're going to just keep it going.
Okay.
But those type of conversations, like,
Mhm.
well, what type of cheese did you use? We really do ask those questions because it is so sacred to who we are, how we are, and
That's
how we move
awesome.
forward. It is not just about the whole what cheeses, but it's like the stories that were passed down when crafting that meal, how everybody got together. It was a communal effort. So honor our traditions when you see that play on that table. There's so much that has gone around there. It's so much that it symbolizes and give us time to really respect that. And if you don't understand it, ask the question as opposed to assume that you know. Because that's the other part that people trying to say, well, I saw you do this, and people take offense when it doesn't land. And if you haven't taken the time to understand the history, to your point, the
Mhm.
education, it's miscommunication,
Mhm.
and it's a learning opportunity when you open yourself to that dialogue.
Okay, so on that note, I wanna know how both of your families make mac and cheese.
Oh,
How I make it. Like, I'll just go with what I make it.
Okay.
One, I'm lactose intolerant,
Mhm.
and so I have to be selective about my cheese or just have a box of lactate pills right next to me, depending on what kind of mood I'm in. But, it's basic. It's the noodles, it's butter, it's cheese, and it's sometimes I don't wanna, throw away all my secrets in there, but you throw a little spice in there. I don't wanna reveal what spice. Sometimes it's sour cream, sometimes it's depends on how creamy I want it to be. Sometimes I bake it. My son doesn't like it baked necessarily, but it's how I make the cheese sauce first before applying
Okay.
it to the noodles. That's the secret sauce,
Okay.
literally in the cheese sauce.
yeah, so that I wasn't given that talent, so my mom does it, and I just be like, yeah, I will go and if I need to go to the store, and if
Mhm.
she's watching, yes. But I have a thing of hot sauce. Like I like to have hot sauce with
Mhm.
my mac and cheese. It's a
Oh,
staple.
wow.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and we get even particular about our hot sauce depending on where you are in the country, because Frank's is not the same as
right.
Texas Pete. So yeah.
And the thing that goes back to also is understanding that some of those traditional foods are not traditional to everyone. Like for
Right.
me, I while I grew up in the South with my grandma until I was about 5 or 6, I went to California. So one of the funny stories in, my journey is that I grew up on more like salads and Mediterranean food and also being exposed to all different types of ethnic foods. And so when I first got married to my son's father, he wanted one of those like lima beans and rice, southern ham hock type meals. And I wasn't blessed with that skill. I was like, I'm gonna toss you a salad and, you know, make you some skewered chicken. And he was like, what is this? And it is a discussion to understand because we
Mhm.
have migrated out of both survival and also to thrive that we picked up different traditions along the way.
Mhm.
So what is, traditional in the South may be very different foods in New York because when you are migrated with more like Puerto Ricans and Dominicans in New York, your food styles may be different versus if you're integrated with more Asians and Indians, we adapt very
Mhm.
easily as a people. And you see that our food traditions are carried through so many different ethnicities. And so that's important to note too, that don't just stick to those traditional Southern foods,
Mhm.
that we like
Yeah.
all kinds of foods as well. And I
Yeah.
love that point, Diane, about how it's communal. It's a time to come together. Like literally, when they say break fast or to
Mhm.
break bread, it is a time to, pause and,
Mhm.
and take a break so that you can focus on each other, make eye contact, and comment on how delicious the food is and how your day has been. So,
Right.
yes.
Right, or just and then to your point, talking we're not a monolith in how we eat. Like, I'm
Mhm.
a person, I don't eat fish, And
Mm,
when I say that, people like, okay, you don't eat seafood. No, I don't eat fish. It is just not a pleasant thing that happens. But people tend to sometimes want me to validate my blackness because I don't eat fish.
mhm,
I'm still showing up in the same space. I don't eat fish. Dare
Mhm.
I say I don't eat watermelon either. I like spitting out the seeds more than I like the food. And again, it's this equation. Like, am I really black because I don't like it? Oh, I am because I am. I just
mhm,
happen to like and enjoy different types of food, and that's still I still am me and I still show up authentically in those spaces when it comes to food. Okay. So I will eat chicken, but if you give me a lamb burger, my gosh, there is just, get to wiggling in my seat. I still
mhm,
am,
Meaning for
black.
good because you like it or you
Oh,
don't?
I love it.
Okay.
I love
mhm.
it.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
love it. But when we're talking about culture, culture moves as, time progresses and people tend to eat differently. I grew
Mhm.
up in Ohio and I moved south. I had to learn that people eat differently.
Mhm.
Um, that was just something I just did not understand. I put sugar in my grits. Yes, I
Wow.
do. And, don't fight me. But to
Mhm.
understand and see all the salt, and I would be the one person asking for sugar. So it's just different.
People put
Yeah.
salt in their grits?
I
Yes.
do.
Wow.
Sometimes salt, sometimes sugar. I'm a person who says this when I'm sitting at a Thanksgiving table. I don't expect to have the same dish that I had last year or at someone else's house. I'm there at that house to eat different foods. And so I don't expect everything to taste the same. So if someone says, "Hey, today we're having grits with sugar," I'm going to try it because I'm curious and I want to expand my taste buds. And so some people do like fish and spaghetti. That's a
Yes.
tradition,
Yes. Yes.
Never.
and I don't eat a lot of fried food. So eating fried chicken to me feels like my stomach's just about to just fold over itself. So I like to be curious with food. I love like Ethiopian foods, and it just
Mhm.
again exposes me to so much. And I think the key, like the red thread through most of foods within and across the Black community is seasoned food, flavorful food.
Yes. Flavorful.
That
Yeah.
is the
Yes.
key, you know.
Any
Um,
food needs to be
and
flavorful. I mean, it's just amazing how sometimes we get such and even when I make it at home, I'm like, I didn't put enough spice in there at all. And it's like very bland and it does add
right.
to it. Yeah.
But I think what I think about visually,
Mhm.
right? Why that's so important. Of course, health reasons we have to be mindful of those seasonings and flavor. But the reason why flavor is so important is because the connection between, our ancestral, like our history in
Mhm.
food, but being able to touching the food and rubbing it down, like when you're making it. And so
Mhm.
it is such a relationship between you and what you put in your mouth. And
Mhm.
also, when you talk about different food practices, I've been learning about, kosher and halal
Mhm.
and James, vegetarian meals and all that kind of stuff. And so those different food practices also talk about the way that people identify how food makes them feel beyond, like how it's prepared also impacts how you feel after you.
Mhm.
And so again, back to
Mhm.
that communal, there's a whole process. It's not just for sustenance. It's not just sit down, eat this meal, get your belly full. It's a whole practice, more of a spiritual connection to your food. And so seasoned with love is something deeper than just salt and pepper.
I love
And
that.
it's
Yeah.
medicinal. It's
Mhm. Oh yeah.
Mhm.
medicinal as
Mhm.
well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very medicinal. Very
Okay, so we
medicinal.
need to wrap this up. So I have two more questions, or I'm going to do some rapid fire questions. How's that?
Yeah.
Um,
Awesome.
what food that instantly tells a story about a place or about
Injera.
place? Yeah,
No.
yeah.
Um, a, a food. Oh, you know what? Red beans and rice.
Hmm. And
or etouffee. Ooh, New Orleans all day, all day. Everything about New Orleans. I gained 25 pounds just thinking about New Orleans. Like it's just I'm thinking about it now and I'm like, oh, I gotta go work out. New Orleans just has a story.
it
It's
does.
rich.
Yep. Diane.
Um, Mine would be okay, so I'm from the city of Akron, Ohio, and when I say Swenson's, people, if I say I want a Swenson's burger, they
Mm,
understand what it means. Like it's sweet, it has cheese, but then they also have the different type of drinks. So the California, the Florida, the Ohio, like I love those. And so when you hear that, it makes me think of home, and again,
Mhm.
that's regional, but it just makes me think of home. So, I kind of want a Swenson's burger
Okay.
pretty
I
soon
love that.
with the
Earlier
onion.
today, I was talking about Ben's Chili Bowl, which
That's another
is
one.
DC.
Mhm.
Yep.
So Ben Ali went to Howard University, and so yeah, a chili dog or even oysters is deeply tied to the Black community as well. It comes from a story of where oysters were thought as an underdog food or the food of the poor, and that shucking and jiving, a term that we get. Was the shucking that the different vendors would sell oysters on the side of the street, and now it's a delicatessen. So that also tells a story about our history, which, you know, hey, I love.
There was a story that the Hotel and Lodging Association did highlighting, 2 going back to New Orleans, 2 men who have, worked at one hotel shucking oysters at the bar for, like, 30 years. And,
Mhm.
I mean, that I just and that it came out during COVID, and I'm like, "Those are the stories that we need to tell about our
Mhm.
about our industry." I'm like, These guys have been this is their job is shucking oysters at the bar, and there's people who come specifically to talk to them, because they
Yeah.
love that interaction and that conversation that they're having around oysters, and it's 2 Black men, and one is like well, one of them hasn't been shucking for 80 years, but the other one I mean, like, one was teaching the other and how long that they've been doing that, I love that.
It's
Um,
also just quickly when you
yeah.
mention macaroni and cheese, look up that history. That's
Okay.
tied to George Washington,
Okay.
America's first president.
Mhm.
His enslaved chef is one who perfected the macaroni and cheese recipe. He went between um, the George Washington's plantation and France when he took them back and forth, and
Oh,
that was one of
wow.
his favorite dishes. And so, yeah, macaroni and cheese is tied to, and there's a lot of documentaries that talk about that food history.
All right, I'll definitely look that up and I'm gonna post that. That's pretty cool.
Mhm. Yeah.
Okay, 2 more questions. What, does belonging actually feel like?
Hmm.
Belonging to me is because I'm here. If I walk into the room, it just means I'm here. Remove the fact that, oh, I'm Black. I know it doesn't come off. I am a person and I show up and respect me as such. That to me is the greatest definition of belonging.
I love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. I think when people are just not surprised or shocked by my presence, like I belong there. I'm in the room, like whether I went through registration, a security guard, the front door, that if I'm in this room, don't question why I'm in this room. I'm obviously credentialed, educated. I am old enough. I'm not 21. I am 45. In fact. So I'm not a kid. Like I have a life that I've lived that the conversation starts from a point of being colleagues and not a point of trying to find out how did you get here? Like
Right,
on my 2 feet,
right.
And so yeah, just not being shocked and surprised that I'm in the room.
Well,
Yes,
I would be
I think
shocked and surprised because I would love to see you is my shock and surprise. So,
that's a
yes.
different. You always hug me.
Yes. All right, so final question. Finish this sentence. Every meal should.
Be seasoned. Yes. I couldn't help it. That
That's
was the first thought
okay.
that came to mind. Like,
I would
mm,
say every meal should be an experience.
it's
It
so
should be an experience, whether it's communal, whether it's different plates. It should always be an experience, and you could feel like you can just breathe afterwards.
Yeah,
yeah. I second that. Yeah.
okay.
An experience because it's seasoned.
I'm so
All
done.
right. So
Yes.
tell everybody how to get a hold of you, how to, what's going on in your life and so they know, you know, they can know you two fabulous women like I do.
Well, because I have to leave you both really
Yeah.
quickly and hop into actually why I'm leaving, um, I work with several companies. So I'm a gig worker. I am independently, I'm a strategic EDI consultant. I'm an event planner and I'm a speaker. I know many different hats, but it's all for this industry. But one thing I love doing within being a multi hyphenate is a storyteller. So I work with a company called Unexpected Atlanta, and I've been doing Black History Month sessions and
Oh,
training
cool.
sessions. So I did one this morning on Black History Month, telling about the history of Black History Month, Carter G. Woodson, and I have another one in about 15 minutes. And so I would also like to invite you, Tracy, Diane, and your audience to a friends and family event. It's a Black Innovations event, so I'll share the link with you.
Okay.
Anyone can join. Tonight's session is where you get to see a new content or new program that we're releasing, and you get to give some feedback. And if you're interested in watching more of those sessions, we have Black History Month, and every single heritage observation. We have Native American, we have Asian Pacific Islander, we do women history. So they're really fun interactive sessions. And so I've been working with them both as an in-person and a virtual guide. And like I said, I'm a speaker as well. So I have a speaking engagement next week. And then I do event planning. I just came from San Francisco and did an event for the NFL Wives Association. So I stay busy because I have a mortgage to pay and a 21-year-old to feed macaroni and cheese. So
Yes.
that's what I do.
Okay, awesome. And Diane?
So for me, again, I'm an event strategist and an event producer working with several different clients right now. The best way to contact me is either on my website, derbybrownproductions.com, on LinkedIn, um, /, Derby Brown. And then I do have Instagram. I'm not as active, but I'm working on that. It's DRB_EXP. And the biggest thing when I'm working with clients is understanding your why and making sure that we get the desired ROI at the end. And we do it joyously. Because as you can see, I've laughed out loud and I've been accused of laughing out loud at the wrong time, but hey, that's who I am. But making sure that people have fun while creating that desired experience.
Thank you both for giving me your time today. I love
Yeah,
you.
pleasure,
I
pleasure.
love you.
Mwah.
Everybody, thank you so much for tuning in to Eating at a Meeting. We're here every Wednesday, usually. I'll be back next Wednesday as well. So until then, stay safe and eat well, and check out Diane and Zoe. And thank you again both for being here. Appreciate it.
Bye.
You're welcome.
Bye.
Bye.